She had everything: love, loyalty, a peaceful life, until one moment of weakness shattered it all. But what she did not expect was who would walk through that hotel door. This is not just a story of betrayal. It's a story of shock, guilt, and a truth so devastating it will leave you breathless till the very last second. Are you ready to hear what happens when one wrong choice changes everything? Title: I took a risk. I thought I could do something I have never done before. Infidelity story, asterisk, asterisk. The air inside the hotel room felt heavy. Not just from the scent of expensive perfume lingering in the curtains, but from the weight of what I was about to do. The walls were beige, but they seemed to close in on me, as if they knew. I looked at myself in the mirror. Lips painted darker than usual. Eyes lined like I was preparing for war. My hands were trembling slightly, but my heartbeat was louder than my doubt. He messaged, "Room 406. Door is open." I stared at the screen, my reflection staring back at me, mouth tight with hesitation. I was married. He was married. But somehow, we both arrived at this moment. I told myself it was just curiosity, a test of freedom, a rebellion. The hallway felt too quiet. Each step I took echoed back with a question. Why was I doing this? What was I expecting? My fingers grazed the door handle. It felt warm, like it had been touched just seconds before. I pushed it open. He was there, sitting on the edge of the bed, shirt unbuttoned, eyes unreadable. He smiled, not the kind that welcomed me, but the kind that dared me to step inside. I walked in. The door clicked shut behind me, and the silence inside swallowed every sound. He stood up, taller than I remembered, and came closer. My breath caught in my throat. His cologne was unfamiliar but intoxicating. He touched my hand. It felt like electricity, but also like betrayal. I let him kiss me. It was not romantic. It was desperate. Hungry. Wrong. His fingers traced the back of my neck. I shivered. Not from desire. From fear. Then, a sound. The door. It opened. I froze. He froze. A woman stood there, her lipstick smudged, her eyes wide and wet. She looked at him, then at me, then back at him. Her hands were shaking. A keycard slipped from her grasp. "Are you serious?" she asked, her voice breaking like glass. I took a step back, but the room felt too small. There was no space to hide. He tried to speak, but his words collapsed in his throat. She turned to me. "You took him from me?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. No excuse. No apology. No defense. She walked toward me slowly, tears streaking her foundation. "You do not even know what you just destroyed," she whispered. I could smell the salt in her tears, see the fury in her shaking jaw. And suddenly, everything felt colder. The thrill was gone, replaced by a pit in my stomach. I thought I could handle the risk. I thought I was in control. But now, all I could see was the damage. The faces, the broken trust, the silence that screamed louder than any argument ever could. She walked out, slamming the door behind her. And in that moment, I realized I had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. He sat back down on the bed, face buried in his hands. No words, no apology, just the echo of what we had done hanging thick in the air. I turned toward the window, the city lights blinking like judgmental eyes. My throat tightened. My skin crawled with guilt. I thought I was chasing freedom, but it felt more like falling. Free falling into something darker than loneliness. My phone buzzed in my purse. My husband's name lit up the screen. I stared at it, paralyzed. He trusted me. He believed in me. And here I was, wearing a stranger's scent, in a room filled with shame. I could not answer. I did not deserve to. I picked at my coat. My heels clicking on the tile floor were the only sound. He looked at me, still silent, still broken. Maybe he was trying to process what had just happened. Maybe he was afraid to speak. Or maybe Like me, he was afraid of what would come next. I stepped into the hallway, feeling like I had aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes. Everything felt dimmer now. The hotel lights, the air, even my own heartbeat. I pressed the elevator button with shaking fingers. A woman passed by me in the hall, and I could feel her eyes linger, judging, guessing, knowing. I looked down, ashamed, dizzy. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside alone. As it descended, I wondered, was it worth it? Was this fleeting moment of stolen desire worth the permanent damage? I had no answer, only silence. When the doors opened at the lobby, I walked out into the night. The cold hit me hard, but I welcomed it. It was honest. Unlike me. Taxi lights blurred in the distance. I raised my hand, but even that small gesture felt wrong. I sat inside the cab, the driver asking for my destination. I could not say home. Not yet. Maybe not ever. So I gave him an address. Any address. Somewhere I could sit and breathe and try to feel human again. Because tonight, I was not a wife, not a lover, not even myself. I was the aftermath of a risk I should have never taken. The taxi moved slowly through the quiet streets, the city glowing outside like a world I no longer belonged to. I leaned my head against the window, letting the glass cool the side of my face. It felt like the only truth I could touch. Memories began to rush in. My husband's laughter, his late-night tea, the way he looked at me like I was still magic. Even on my worst days, tears welled up in my eyes, but I blinked them back. Not because I was strong, but because I knew I had no right to cry. When the taxi stopped, I stepped out and stood still for a long time. The night wrapped around me, silent but not forgiving. I did not know what tomorrow would bring. Whether I would confess, whether I would keep living a lie, or whether I would try to fix something already shattered. But I knew one thing. This was not freedom. This was not power. This was not love. It was an escape that led to a prison, built by my own choices. And maybe one day, I would find the courage to face it all, to tell the truth, to ask for forgiveness, even if I did not deserve it. But for now, all I could do was stand beneath a dim streetlight, alone, changed, and painfully aware that some risks do not lead to growth. They lead to regret. And sometimes, you do not realize what you had until you are no longer the person who deserves it.